cheers to episode 58.
Hey, nice cup, man.
Thanks.
High noon, sun sips, vodka and soda, pineapple, made with real juice, real flavor.
Great flavor. I'm just drinking water today.
Yeah, it's after 10. It's water for me.
I have a watermelon one on deck.
Oh!
What are you doing tonight?
The bar's after. Just kidding. But as Alex alluded to, it is Monday, February 7th. Welcome to the number one sports podcast in Michigan, reverberating throughout your eardrums. Late night tonight. And Jim Harbaugh is the new coach of the Minnesota Vikings. Oh, wait, that didn't actually happen. There was some bad reporting this week.
Blue balls. Sorry.
We have a lot to get to. We're going to be a very phenomenal show tonight. I feel it. Let's preview it. Weekly recaps. We got the saga between Harbaugh, Gattis as well, fallout. Then we have some college basketball updates. Not the best weekend for the teams, but always a chance to get better here as we get closer and closer to March. The Super Bowl, my goodness. Stafford's in it. Evans quarterback, his lover boy, his man, his crush in the Super Bowl. And then we have some fantastic life miscellaneous fan questions. We have fan questions sprinkled throughout, but the people finally stepped up and started asking questions about their life. And who better than us three idiots to answer them? I can't think of a better trio. Now, listen, this is a weekend that will go down in the history of Michigan football. There could be a whole chapter written about this post-playoff fallout. But before we get into that, let's get into what our weeks were like. I want to hear from Evan Cadmus first. How was your week? Anything notable or cool or tragic or whatever? Maybe not tragic. It's a little late for that.
This week, nothing special. Snowstorm blew through like 95% of the state of Michigan.
Fresh pow.
Yep. Got about 10 inches, I would say, up here. 8 to 10 inches. Rough estimate. Just eyeballing it, spitballing it. That was probably the excitement. In the words of our good friend Luke, I put in a shift on Monday, just wasted my day away. Wasn't productive on anything. And then this weekend, fixed some financial situations. And then I went back out to an old classic, got my feet wet Saturday night. Had friends were up here, and so went back to Harper's for the first time in I think nearly 2 years.
I haven't been there in at least 2
Harp
years.
show.
The
Maybe
Harp
more,
show.
probably 3.
The harpoon. The harpoonani.
It is not the same. I feel super old. Walked in there and I was like, oh my gosh. I am the oldest person in this bar right now. I could feel
Worse
it.
than Rick's?
I could see it. It was just as bad as Rick's. Of the age,
gross.
Harper's has lost its touch. It is not strict anymore. It is basically letting anybody in.
Oh, wow.
They had to keep up with Rick's.
Yeah, I guess 2-3 years ago it was super strict. Nowadays they're letting anybody in.
Wow.
Get in. It was nice. Music's still below average there, but it is like jam packed. It is. They're battling in there. And, being 5'6",
You
doesn't
did look
really
uncomfortable
help. It doesn't
in the video
really
I saw.
help. And I am just getting bodied by anybody that walks by me that is, like, anywhere taller than me. Had a decent time. Had a pretty good time with everybody.
With all that being said.
I enjoyed myself. Just out at the bars with friends is always a good time. Other than that, I think that was the highlight of the weekend, yeah.
I'm telling you what, boys, we're like 2 years away from the actual country bar grand opening that I've been thinking in East Lansing happening. I feel like the more and more I hear about the not horror stories, but things could be better in the East Lansing bar scene. There's a market there, and we need to tap that market.
Yeah.
Well,
Alex is doing the
my dad
finances.
and his friends, they were telling me just on Sunday, a bar is just a terrible idea. So,
but we
I
have
hate to say that.
Of your dad's friends, we have a plug for commercial real estate, so we have the inside track.
Yeah, and that commercial real estate guy said it's a terrible idea. So
was he sober or drunk when he said this?
Sober.
Did we need to get him drunk?
This is when the bottle was starting to get passed.
We need to get him drunk first, and then they'll be like, "Yes, let's do it." Coyote Joe's. Alex, your weekend. of festivities?
Friday, I went to the bars with some pals. Had a good time. Probably drank more than I needed to. Saturday morning, big Bob Evans reminisce breakfast. Talked about high school. Evan, we talked about you and Y Guy quite a bit. Just memories with the Cadmus family.
Wyatt stole the show of breakfast.
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't even
so many things about Wyatt that are so hilarious in his life. Some of the moments. So we talked about that. That was good.
Poopy
and
frat.
then Saturday, didn't do a whole lot of anything because I had to get up the next morning at like 5:30 to go bird hunting in the Grand Rapids area. So I did a European style hunt. It's like a tower hunt. There was no actual tower. But we basically are lined up at stations in a circle, and then these two dudes in the middle are like throwing these live pheasants, and then they fly up, and if they go in your direction, you pop it, or you at least try to. I think during that portion of the hunt, I was like 2 for 16 shooting.
Oh, like Jared Goff.
So not my best.
Like a Jared Goff stat line.
Like Michigan State in the second half. Wow.
And then in the second portion of the hunt, we took the dogs, my dog, and she runs around and she like pokes the birds up and points at them, and then they fly up in the air. During that portion, 1 for 1. So not too bad.
Always about completion percentage, never about quantity. It's all about quality. 1 for 1, baby.
Yeah. So it was a long day. Didn't get back here until 9 p.m. So it was a good 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. day.
Nice.
Good times, though.
Nice. Yeah, and the beautiful thing about that is we didn't want a PETA sponsorship anyways. So if they were thinking about it, just know that
we're
we
not
didn't
your guys.
really want one. No.
Yeah, we're not your guys.
We're not. I killed a bug on our ski trip too, so I'm definitely not your guy. Same thing as the hunt. My weekly recap is similar to Evan in the terms of feeling old. I threw my back out this week, which was a alarming thing to do.
Forgot about that.
And it's the only notable thing I have. And how it happened was just because I reintroduced the game of basketball into my life. And you're thinking, okay, he was doing some 5-on-5 action. No, I was just simply shooing around myself and played a game of 1-on-1 against Alex. And I just did
like 50% 1-on-1. We weren't even trying.
I just did too many like individual moves of landing on 2 and jump stops, which are crucial and overlooked in this game. And I threw out my back from like just the shock of landing and jumping, which I haven't done in like 2 years.
That is power right there.
I do have heavy jump stops. I don't do anything light on my feet. They're heavy jump stops, and it just hurt. But now I'm good, so we're back. I did feel a little pull today when I was carrying in my groceries, 1 trip only, all the groceries on my right arm. It definitely hurt a little bit, but for the most part, we're back.
Try not to hurt anybody, please.
Oh, it's kind of hard when you're
one
trip Grant. Yeah. So back out, which is not good because there's some historical precedents in our family of having back problems. So fingers crossed we make it through that. Okay. All right. I think that's the weekly recaps. That was good stuff. Now let's move on to the saga that dominated. It feels like, because the Gattis stuff happened Sunday, it feels like I almost forgot about the Harbaugh stuff, which was the core of the issue, but things move fast in this world of the NCAA. Alex shared a lovely video in our group chat of Gattis crying in December about how much he loves Harbaugh. Now he's gone. He's going to the U. He's going to a stadium that we've been to. But I want to open this up with, from my fellow Spartan fans, the question that was on my mind was, were you guys rooting for Harbaugh to actually leave, or do you like him staying because you don't like his incompetence at times?
I wanted him to leave because it was late in the cycle, and I thought they would make some massive mistake and promote Gattis or something. So in that sense, yes, but I also didn't care if Jim came back because I do not fear Jim Harbaugh at all.
Put that on a t-shirt.
So yeah, I mean, I really it was fun to speculate on it, but I didn't care either way. As long as they didn't bring in an Urban Meyer, I wasn't going to be too worried.
As a football coach, right? Because Jim Harbaugh would kick your ass.
Well, Jim Harbaugh would not kick my ass.
Oh, I disagree.
No, he would not.
Oh, wow.
Did you see the picture of him with the Tuck Coming shirt? Did you see those man boobs?
Okay. Well, it was
hot take.
It was an ill-fitting sweater he was wearing.
If you have man boobs through a sweater like that, that's supposed to be baggy. It's not a good look.
It was just too much cloth. But did you see him squatting on the recruiting trail? I mean, the guy still got it. You can't squat that.
Big man boob.
Yeah. That guy's not beating any of our ass. Maybe yours, Grant, because you broke your back doing nothing, but...
Oh, man. All right,
So
Evan,
no.
you were shaking your head
Yes, I do.
vehemently. Yes.
I did want him to leave. It's kind of funny. 7 years, 8 years into his coaching thing, I think he's now finally turning the corner a little bit. I think he's finally getting players to buy in a little bit more towards the way he wants to do it. He used to have better coordinators. We're going to talk about that. He used to have good coordinators. He wasn't stubborn anymore. He gave a little bit more play calling, a little more freedom. Wasn't lined up with 4 tight ends and a fullback anymore in 2022, basically, or the previous 4 years. And just like he's a quality coach, he knows how to win. He has a winning record collectively as a head coach. And then the whole notion of if I look back on this 7-8 years ago of what all the Michigan fans were thinking when Harbaugh was hired, and then I can just laugh at them now that their saving grace for the program is leaving them. I would have found it funny, I guess. Ironic.
You would have liked the memes.
I would have loved the memes. I would have loved all the Michigan fans trying to spin zone it, being yeah, we're better off without him.
We're hiring Tom Brady.
Yes.
Charles Woodson's about to be our head coach. That notion and stuff. And just the whole I don't know, hiring a new head coach excites me, even if it's one not my school. So it would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Michigan State just went through that same process. Different. We had a coach leave in February. You almost had a coach leave in February, so we kind of experienced that a little bit to an extent. So it has just been interesting. And I think he's always a guy that wants to go to the NFL. So
Yeah, don't buy any of the... he's never going to be tempted again. I mean, he definitely wants to leave. He just didn't get an offer, but...
Calling his bluff, do you think if they have success again this year, he's just going to rinse and repeat this and try to go get another one?
I mean, I don't know.
And I don't blame him for
opportunity.
it. I mean, I think of it this way.
He should.
If you're in his shoes and you're just at big picture, you're at your job and they came to you and they said, you know what, you've been doing great. You're winning, but it's all the outside noise that hates you kind of. You're not up to expectations. Some expectations are probably way too high for what this program is or this job is. However, we're not giving you a new contract. Here's a huge pay cut. And hopefully you do better next year. Next year comes around, you do better. You exceed expectations. You finally get a monkey off your back. And then a place where you were at, had success, is giving you a little bit of interest. I don't mind dipping your toe into the water and trying it.
I don't either.
I don't think
100%.
Minnesota was a good fit to begin with. I don't think the GM and Harbaugh would have clashed. I don't know the GM, but I just looked at his resume, where he came from, and his not really his personality, but kind of his background a little bit, and then Harbaugh's background. The only reason he got fired from San Francisco was because of his personality and his relationships. So you kind of need somebody that he kind of knows or can build a relationship with, and I don't know, as a first-time GM, I don't think that's the spot to go.
Yeah. I 100% echo your statements. I had wrote down for the Michigan fans, again, I'm the lone one on the podcast, so our opinions are all valid here, but I'm saying, from my fandom spot, I never once blamed him for wanting to chase down his dream of winning a Super Bowl again. I mean, he said as much, winning a Super Bowl would be incredible. No matter
what's the highest in football that you can win. So.
Think about this, especially. I can't. Evan, you can relate to this the most. I mean, Alex and I don't have brothers, but if you were in it against your older brother and you lost on basically one of the last plays, that will never go away in your entire life. And wanting to scratch that itch at the age of 58 is your last shot, especially with Lovie Smith is 63 and he got hired today, but that's different.
That's a fill-in hire.
Different story. So they aren't hiring 60-year-olds in the NFL, so this is your last shot. I don't blame him for that. The thing it made me think of was the scene in Django when the bags are messed up on the raid. Follow me here. Okay. And Jonah Hill's character goes, we all think the bags were a nice idea. So I think all Michigan fans think it's a fine idea to test the waters of the NFL. I just think it could have been done better. That's essentially what I came down to, is like, this took so long, and it's partially all these loser blue check marks on Twitter that have like 5K followers and get that blue check and think they get to break news and are insiders, telling me the Raiders are a lock. Oh, my birdies are chirping. There's that one guy who said, I'm told he's finalizing the deal with the Miami Dolphins tomorrow. Nice, man. And then it comes out, the Wolverine or On 3, in this case it was Chris Ballas, who I do think does solid work, but he said all systems are clear, like Jim Harbaugh is signing with the Vikings tomorrow, the interview's a formality. It's like, what are all these people like basing this off of?
I guarantee though, someone has to be telling them that they're not going to put their whole careers on the line just to guess. Someone is leaking
I agree,
that,
but you need at least 3 sources that are all saying the same thing that like you trust and have used in the past, because this is like the biggest scoop of your entire career, and for all these people to be wrong made it even more maddening. So that was really frustrating, this whole process of how this all went down and how long it took. But at the same time, with Harbaugh, like, you're on the NFL's cycle, and this NFL hiring cycle, it lasted forever. It just finished today. Everything finally wrapped up. So he had to wait and see what was going on. I think I had like a thesis or kind of capsulation as I worked through this timeline, a little bit of facts and what was real and what wasn't, that like there's overreactions on both sides, but at the end of the day, the truth of all this lies somewhere in the middle, and there's no one right way to think about it. So briefly, my emotions as this happened, Alex can attest to this. The night that it came out that like he was going to interview to Minnesota and it was a formality and he was taking the job, I was angry and I was frustrated because, like we had talked about,
mean words,
very mean words, dark, swearing, cursing names.
Out on Jim Harbaugh forever.
Out, like, why does this have to the woe is me, why is this happening? Not neutral thinking, not chopping. And it's like we had talked about, a coach had never left his team after making the college football playoff. And now it was happening. Okay. The next morning I woke up, I wasn't texting the group chat or anything. I was just like, okay, I'm fully accepting the fact that we're going to promote from within to keep this recruiting class together, keep JJ, the savior that you need to keep, not the savior, but like, you know what I'm saying, the key cog that you need to keep in this piece. And I'm like, all right, Gattis is going to be our head coach because he's the most experienced guy. He's been there the longest. I was open to whoever could get it, but it made sense it'd be Gattis since he was there the longest. And then when he finally comes back, I was almost like numb to it. I was like tired of all of it. And I was just like, I'm glad he came back for congruency's sake, but I wasn't like super elated. Like, I think this is where I'll hop in with our listener question. Ben, he said, as a Michigan fan, I guess I'll just cut out the last name there. I just got a little ahead of myself. Ben, as a Michigan fan, I feel slightly betrayed and embarrassed by the entire Harbaugh situation. Betrayed because of how he states he'd do this job for free, then a month later tries to leave. Embarrassed because he came crawling back to us after likely not receiving an offer from the Vikings. Then Michigan Twitter celebrated like it's his original hire 7 years ago. Am I wrong for wanting to move on from Harbaugh after all of this? No, Ben, I don't think you're wrong. How do you guys see that? Our old friend Ben's question.
Yes and no. I mean, the way Harbaugh handled it on the NFL's time and all that, I can see that where the frustration comes. But also, like Evan mentioned earlier, like, you're going to want to see what the NFL has to say. It's the number one football organization in the world. So yeah, it's a yes and no. I can't give an honest answer one way or the other.
Yeah, truth lies somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say truth lies somewhere in the middle. You have a right to obviously be upset about the whole situation, but like Alex said, I mean, the NFL is running on their timeline. They don't care about when signing day is. They don't care how long this process takes. They're on their schedule. And if you're a candidate, you're going to follow along or you're not going to get interviewed. It hurts, like you said, Grant, like all the people reporting on it. That's what I think made it even 10 times worse. If it was just like, hey, he went and interviewed and he didn't get it and he's staying here, I think that would have been totally fine. But the fact that those interviews were out there and saying, oh, he's signing, but he's coming back. It's interesting. Does he have a new contract if he's coming back? And like, what are those details?
He hasn't signed that yet, apparently.
Being worked on right now is what I've been diving into the weeds about.
I don't know if it is weird because what he said, I don't know if he's crawling back to him, but he's currently the head coach for him as of right now. So he's staying, I would say.
And Ben has to put himself in the shoes of Ward Manuel, because this went through his same head. Like, do I want to move on from this guy? Because as it was stated, Jim called up Ward at like 7:30 at that day of the interview and was like, hey, I want to come back to Michigan. Like, will you have me? Or like basically put the ball in Ward's court. Like, he understood what he did was kind of like shady. So Ward's in there like, do I want to keep doing this? And I think the answer is yes, ultimately. And for me, I just think it's like corny, I would say, in the celebration part. Like, the people that were celebrating his return, like, oh my God, he's back. Like, that was just so corny. The most you could do is just breathe a sigh of relief that you don't have to go hire a coach in February. That's about what I did. I was just like, okay, whew. Knowing that turmoil was still going to come, because, I mean, the awkwardness of walking back into Schembechler Hall and just being like, hey guys, so anything happened this weekend? We ready to get into spring football install or what? How's winter conditioning going? Like, the last 2 months have been an absolute circus. And as you see, all of your assistants were like talking on the phone, like, hey, where's my next job going to be? Because the next part I want to get to is the communication aspect of this between Harbaugh. Now, scoured a bunch of reports, and like, again, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. We have obviously Harbaugh telling Will Johnson, the most prized recruit for 5-star of this class, hey, I'm entertaining NFL offers. Okay, I'm going to listen to them. And I'm going to hear them out. Good at communication. Because like what I wrote is like, most people across America, they secretly look for new jobs all the time. So I guess credit to Jim for being upfront and honest. He wasn't like Brian Kelly. He didn't just spring this on someone. He was telling people, I'm looking at jobs. Okay, now the bad side. Nick Baumgartner from The Athletic, great reporting, says there was a ton of uncertainty in the actual building of Michigan football if Harbaugh would leave or not. Like, some people didn't know what he was doing. Some people were like, oh, he's getting the job at Minnesota. And it kind of makes sense, because if you think about your life, when something happens to you, you don't just put all 100 people that you potentially could contact in one group chat and say, hey, this just happened to me. Like, obviously, he's going to tell his like best people. He's going to tell Matt Weiss, who's going to go with him and helping him with the interview, hey, this is like happening. So there's the communication part. And then we get into the day of. Okay, so the Vikings coming. I read an Athletic piece, great piece by the Vikings beat writers, because it's like perfect to get their perspective, because they're not biased. They're just trying to figure out what the hell their football team's doing. So they said the Vikings didn't want to repeat the Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman regime they just had. So the backstory there is Zimmer is a pretty fiery guy, and him and Spielman towards the end weren't even talking to each other. When we look back with Harbaugh and Trent Baalke in San Fran, they stopped talking to each other and they didn't like each other, and that's how it ended. They're like, okay. And then, like Evan mentioned, the Vikings GM, I'm trying to get his name here. It's Kwesi Odofu-Mensah. We'll go Odofu-Mensah. Okay. Sharp guy from the 49ers. He had started out there like when Jim was there as like a low-level assistant, so he knew of him. And he's like, hey, I'd like to interview Jim Harbaugh. That was one of his 3 finalists that he wanted to interview to be his head coach. And the Wilf family, who owns the Vikings, were like, okay, we'll let you interview Harbaugh. I believe the Wilf family was skeptical of Harbaugh because they're the owners. They just went through this whole Zimmer Spielman thing. They're like, we don't know how it ended in 49ers, blah, blah, blah. Jim is going there. I don't know who told him. Odofu-Mensah. Is it Jim Harbaugh's own ego? What he attacks things, with his enthusiasm. He's like, I have this job. This job is mine. I'm going to Minnesota to sign this deal. I'm prepping for this interview that offers happening the day of the interview. Now, there's also the conspiracy theory, like the Vikings had just got done with a 9-hour interview with a minority candidate, and then you have the Flores stuff, and so it was a bad look that people were saying Harbaugh already had the Minnesota job. So there's all these crazy things happening in the world of the NFL outside of people's control. But the bottom line is everyone's like, all right, Harbaugh is going to Minnesota to sign this deal. Now we read from the article that everything was good in the morning. Around 3 p.m., the vibe of the interview changes. Now that is like, we'll go down and just who knows what happened if you're in the room. I'd love to picture like it just got to the point where Jim was like, so we signing this thing or what? And they're like, oh no, Jim, we're just doing the interview. We're going to sleep on it. He's like, what? I was here to sign. And then I guess from 3 to 7:30, that little window where things went south, he ends up calling Ward Manuel and he's back at Michigan. So, as Tom Pelissero reports, there was no offer. There was 0 offer given. So any Michigan fan that tries to make it seem like Jim decided to stick to be a Michigan man, that did not happen.
He would have left if he got the offer.
Yeah, we don't know if Jim realized he didn't want to be in Minnesota, but it had nothing to do with I'm loyal to Michigan. It was just this specific job is not working out, and at this point, no other NFL team wants me. I'm going back to Michigan. That's what happened in Minnesota.
Yeah. Summed it up pretty well.
It's
and
a
then
weird
Jim shot himself in the foot by saying that he's never going to entertain the NFL again. I don't know why he would have said that.
That is the biggest thing that...
Just like keep your mouth shut. Be like, yeah, I'm back and we'll see what happens going forward. I would never commit to something like that.
He's going to draw interest every single year because he's had success in the NFL. He's going to draw interest every single year.
For a couple more, he's going to.
Now, like the whole notion of like who's going to get fired next year and like the job opening next year, clearly it's not going to be 9 openings. So you're going to have like 2 or 3 options, and those teams are going to have like 2 or 3 options. So your name might not get brought up, but eventually your name's going to get brought up again. And it's hard to believe that he's just going to be like, no, I told Michigan I was going to be here. I'll never do it again. So my fault. I'm not interested. I don't know if it's going to be a year-on-year thing, but I wouldn't have said it like in Alex's point.
I would not have. No chance.
And like one thing too is like the future is what we're kind of touching on here is like with that future comment, where do we go from here? All this stuff happened, but obviously what happens next? Philosophy is that like he really shot himself in the foot again in the sense of you had your back up against the wall, like Evan said. They cut your salary. You proved everyone wrong, which is probably a big part of all that. And so you had all this goodwill and momentum, and you basically dumped 80% of it just out of the window. In my mind, as a fan of Michigan, 80% of what he had just done is kind of thrown out of the window. Like, let's say they go 9-3, 8-4 next year.
Everyone's going to be furious.
I'm going to be mad because this factors into it. Like you actively hurt the momentum that was being built. And it's not like Michigan has been known to just like hammer the transfer portal, the new transfer portal, and sign all these flashy recruits. So I don't know like how many, like what he was really going to be doing recruiting and stuff wise, but just like cohesiveness and I guess vibe of the facility, not good right now, I would imagine. And so that is hurt. And also in a weird way, he put the power back in Michigan in the athletic department's hands, which I kind of like because it's good to be able to corral a polarizing figure like Harbaugh. Like, because Harbaugh had all the leverage here after making the playoff. Like, all right, Ward, bring me the big bucks. Now you go do this and you make Michigan look stupid and like the side piece. Now they have negotiating tactics like, all right, Jim, like we'll welcome you back, but on these terms. And that's why I still think they're hashing out the extension right now with all like the little fine details. Aside from that, just the good thing about this process is it exposed the people, like I had mentioned earlier, who actually aren't really plugged into this program, and then the crazies on Twitter who will defend the blue wall, as Evan likes to say, no matter what. So a good Twitter cleansing.
Blue wall is, God.
A good Twitter cleansing happened on the timeline this weekend from the Psalms account via me. I was like, all right, this person had no idea what they were talking about, and they think like Jim's still the savior, so unfollow. Like, just get people that actually make sense all in one situation. That's really my main thoughts on Harbaugh, and then they can kind of dovetail into the fallout from Gattis here as we move on. They're all connected, but obviously Sunday morning you're not expecting it. Josh Gattis leaves Michigan. What was your guys' initial reactions when you saw this? I know, Evan, you shot the text. You're like, whoa, that was kind of out of the blue.
I was shocked. I looked up his contract. I looked up his salary. I know he came from Alabama, so he kind of has like the Southern ties. I don't know where he coached before Alabama. I don't know if he played or where he played.
Penn State was where he coached before then. I
think he was like a wideouts coach.
Went to Wake Forest. He played actually for the Jaguars and Bears in the NFL. I don't know how much. And then was North Carolina, Western Michigan, Vanderbilt, Penn State, Bama. So all around. Midwest and South.
Vanderbilt, Penn State. So he probably followed Franklin around for a while. Yeah, so I mean, I guess the only ties is Alabama and Wake Forest in the southern region. I think the most interesting part of the Gattis is like the text messages he sent to the players that was I don't remember who reported it.
Tom Verheeren,
yeah,
I believe.
I think that's the most interesting part because what we said in the group chat, like the administration. I don't think he would say administration if he was talking about Harbaugh not wanting him there. Especially the clip that Alex was talking about with when he won the Broyles Award for the top assistant of the year. I don't think Harbaugh doesn't want him there.
I think the main rumbling was that Or at least there was like vocal support from alumni that they wanted to promote Mike Hart when they thought Jim was leaving. And then maybe Gattis felt disrespected that Mike Hart was going to be a head coach before he's ever a coordinator.
Well, I got bad news for you. You're going to get the Mike Hart talk every single year now that he's a coach on staff, just solely because of that he played there. And the alumni are kind of still living in that 2005.
Michigan man crazy?
Yes. It's okay to have outside viewpoints now in 2022. Everybody should adapt.
No.
Yeah.
I butchered the name earlier. It was crazy. And I think he's getting a huge pay bump.
I do too.
He was making $900,000 reported at Michigan. There's probably some incentives there somewhere. And then plus, if Harbaugh's contract's not finalized, part of Harbaugh's contract it deals with the assistant salary pool and the option to give raises to your assistants. Toledo's head coach, reported by the Toledo Blade, turned down the Miami offensive coordinator job, and he was offered $1.8 million. So it's hard. It's hard to believe that
Miami's not messing around right now.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that Gattis isn't getting at least $1.8 million.
I think it'd be close to $2 million.
Oh, Luke in the background with the mother effers.
He heard that $2 million. He's like, "Holy, Gattis making $2 million at the U."
So Jason Candle, I butchered the name in the group chat. Just now realized that.
I was gonna say I didn't recognize the name.
Yeah, I butchered the last name. I was close, but just butchered it. So that was reported by the Toledo Blade. So I mean, if you're not welcome, or if you don't think you're liked where you're at, then obviously you're always gonna want to move on.
It's a bad feeling,
money and a natural progression.
You want to be loved.
You do.
So to go back to the natural progression, that's a good lead in here, Alex. To go back to the beginning of all this. So after the initial shock, it was a Sunday morning. I'm just trying to wake up and get a nice coffee from Starbucks. I'm like, the score notification, score guy, not ESPN for the record, but doesn't matter, semantics. Score goes, Josh Gad's leaving for Miami. I'm like, the Dolphins? They don't even have a head coach. What the hell? Like the Hurricanes? Are you kidding me? Because we went to their stadium. That place is poopy. Their team stinks. Whatever.
Well, they're on the up.
Sure,
they got Cristobal now.
I don't have very nice words for them, but I'm not going to try to be mean. Anyways, so then I think about it more. I'm like, okay, this isn't completely out of the blue, I guess. It makes sense when you think about it afterwards. He interviewed for the Virginia job like a month ago, and he didn't get that. So that, I guess, it was a chop to him. But he was looking for jobs. He won the Broyles Award. Those guys don't just stay around to be OCs for Jim Harbaugh their whole life. They move on. But it's puzzling more so because of this. It's because of his career trajectory that was happening in front of us. Because I can pretty much promise you, if he had stayed at Michigan with JJ or whoever's quarterback and all this offense, because the offense is mainly all returning. The defense is going to be a different story. You're probably going to have a pretty decent year. You may not win as many games, but you're going to be in line for a head coaching job. But then you go to Miami, which is it's building, but it's a risk right now. Let's be honest. And this might be a chop to Miami fans. I don't know if anyone will ever hear this, but people saying that it was a lateral move, it's not. I don't care how apologetic you want to be for the U. They're like a program right now than Michigan is. Michigan just made the playoff. Miami hasn't been good since
2003.
Give me one of, Ed Reed, all those guys. I mean, they're not. They had the turnover chain. They got dumped.
I think
they got. Your turnover chain got murdered by Paul Chryst in a bowl game. Okay, you're not some sweet program. Everything's risky down there right now. Cristobal could be a good hire for them. It could work out. It was puzzling that he went to Miami to be an OC and what is a lateral job. That's not a lateral job. That's a worse school.
Unless he knows something about the Michigan offense, or maybe Harbaugh was taking his keys and he wasn't calling the plays as much as he
that happened for
wanted.
Sure.
Maybe he just wanted full go, let it rip, and $2 million. So
I'm no insider or anything, but it's pretty clear based on Michigan's offense that once they hired all these hot new young coaches, so that they just started pounding the absolute rock and not really doing the speed and space stuff that wasn't working with Joe Milton, that things started to change a little bit. I don't know. Could be just reading the tea leaves. Matt Weiss, the QB's coach, was making $600,000 as a first year coach there, so only $300,000 less than Gattis. So that kind of tells you who was having influence on the staff. And I had a fun little stat deep dive for you guys that you guys will love because it complements your school. The game is, how good were Michigan's wide receivers under Josh Gattis? Because he's a wide receivers coach.
I think I saw this tweet.
I think you saw the tweet, but I went a different route because that was the easy route. Because Ohio State's different. I wanted to compare us to our friends in East Lansing. How do Michigan's wide receivers under Josh Gattis compare to Michigan State's wide receivers? So I'm only going to use 2019 and 2021 because 2020 is, that COVID year, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So 2019, Michigan, Gattis' first year, Ronnie Bell, 12 games, 758 yards. Nico Collins, 12 games, 729 yards. And Donovan Peoples-Jones, 11 games, 438 yards.
That's disgusting for him.
Donovan Peoples-Jones only got less than 500 yards.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
And keep in mind,
70 of those yards came in one play against Michigan State.
Nico Collins and DPJ are like legitimate NFL wide receivers. 2019, Cody White, 13 games, 922 yards. Darrell Stewart Jr., 9 games, 697 yards. Okay. Let's go to 2020.
Offensive unit in 2019.
2021. Cornelius Johnson, your leading receiver for Michigan, last year in the playoff.
This isn't going to be comparable.
627 yards. Eric All, your tight end, is your second leading receiver on the team in 437 yards. Your next wideout is 420 yards with Roman Wilson. Okay. 2021, Michigan State, 13 games, 1,026 yards from Jane Reed. Only 9 games, 695 yards for Jalen Naylor. And Trey Mosley, good old Trey Mosley, 530 yards. So, I get the offense got better, I sense.
We're a well-oiled machine.
The wide receivers, you're a wide receivers coach. You coach Godwin, you coached Allen Robinson at Penn State. You coach a bunch of receivers at Alabama. Did that
really coaching those kids at Alabama?
Did that really translate, though? Did all that knowledge, did that translate to Michigan? Did you maximize Nico Collins and DPJ? I don't think so. I'm not saying Josh Gattis is a bad coach. I was fully prepared for him to be our head coach at some point. But I don't know if the position of the wide receivers really got better under his term, and I don't think it did, frankly. So
fair enough.
Now, another little interesting part. Alex's Rumor Mill segment of the week is back.
Oh!
But I'm not announcing it.
But Grant's announcing it. There was rumors flying on the board that what factored into this decision or just releasing the info after he's fired. There's rumors. I'm just going to say what I heard, okay? And I'm going to tell you if it's real or not based on what I've read. There's rumors that Josh Gattis had sexual relations with Xavier Worthy's mom. And that is why Xavier Worthy did not come to Michigan. Because the university found out and was like, we can't have that. And they thought it was improper recruiting benefits. Now, did some digging, looked at Xavier Worthy's mom. I guess it didn't happen. Sam Webb, who is like plugged in, the more plugged in insider, he said it's total BS. Total BS, did not happen. But it was flying fast in the Michigan interwebs, and it was just a juicy story. So, and also, this last year, this 2021, Josh Gattis was not allowed to recruit for Michigan. So I don't know. You do with that what you will. He wasn't recruiting anymore.
I don't know if he was wanted back. Everything is what I don't know about the whole sex with the mom thing is real.
Yeah, no, we're not pushing
juicy.
that. We're not pushing that. That is out there, so we have to say
saying,
it. I don't think it happened.
Like Michigan felt like they had some bigwig offensive minds, Mike Hart and the Weiss dude, and the plan was for those guys to become co-OCs, and so they wanted to just Gattis to get a job somewhere else. He didn't get one, so then they're like, "Hey, man, leave." And so then Miami came calling, and he left. That's just my total guess.
To ask him to leave seems
not leave, but like pressure to leave. Not like, hey, Josh, you need to leave, but just like dropping little hints. Like, God, it'd be sweet if Mike had a little bit of an opportunity. Blah 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 blah.
I think the biggest hint probably was when they were all scrambling and planning for Harbaugh to leave, because obviously Ward probably started this head coaching search because he thought Harbaugh was gone, and I think when Gattis found out he wouldn't be the next head coach. I'm just completely guessing here. He was like, all right, well, if that's not happening, then I need to go get mine somewhere else where maybe I can and to be fair, from an X's and O's, I'm very fascinated. I'm not going to hate watch Miami. I'm going to watch them. I want to see if this speed and space actually happens with no reins. Because I do believe deep down Jim Harbaugh was influencing this offense the whole time under Gattis, and that had to be frustrating for Gattis. But at the same time, he was a first-time play caller, and Harbaugh has been doing offense his whole life. So he's probably trying to work him along. So I am curious to see Miami's offense is probably going to look vastly different than what Michigan was putting out there. I know different personnel and stuff, but I'm curious to see what Josh Gattis' offensive mind has, and then again what Michigan's offense turns into with him gone, because it's going to be fascinating just from an X's and O's nerd standpoint.
Miami has some dudes.
They do. And then we get another tease, another rumor mill, Andrew Anthony saying the next move is crazy. Now, he's a college kid. Is this then I was like, this could be some NIL thing. Like maybe they just got a sick sponsorship from Papa John's or something. Like, I don't know. Like, what is he talking about? But he was with Harbaugh later that day, spotted at the women's basketball game. People are like, oh my God, Andrew Anthony's with Coach Harbaugh. So like he knows something's going on. So it could be cool. We will see what happens. It did get me a little excited. It made that tweet again, like I said, you guys, that makes me think someone's being hired from the outside, but who knows? Because I don't think you'd say that if just guys from within the program were getting promoted, but that's what's probably going to happen. So I don't know. My last couple points is I did the history of Michigan's coordinators under Harbaugh and at Michigan, and you think about how much things change. Just fun to look back on. 2015, Tim Drevno, OC, and DJ Durkin, DC, in his first year. And then you move to 2016,
Durkin
Drevno.
killed a man.
Durkin was then moved to Maryland, I think, after this year.
And killed a guy.
All right, Alex, thank you for that tidbit. 20, just like 20 Brian Kelly. 2016, Tim Drevno and Don Brown comes in, and then you have a repeat of that in 2017.
Dr. Blitz, baby.
Yeah. And then this is the craziest what I found, and it's a good foreshadowing to look at.
Tim Drevno? What is he doing with his life now? I've never heard of this dude's name.
No, you guys should do a little deep dive on Tim Drevno. He looks like a drunk uncle from somewhere. He's kind of a funny looking
Dan
guy.
Enos at Michigan at one point?
Ooh, not as a coordinator.
I think
maybe.
he was for like 4 seconds, and then he got hired by Alabama.
I think that's right. And then 2018, guys, get this. This is the craze. I forgot this happened. And mind you, this was the year they were playing for the Big Ten East, and they lost the like 62-39 year. 2018, they didn't have an offensive coordinator. Michigan did not have an offensive coordinator in 2018. They split all play calling as like a cohesive staff, and that is what they did. And Pep Hamilton was like the guy calling the shots.
Gross.
Oh, Pep.
So I could see something like that happening where it's like, all right, we have a bunch of co-offensive coordinators, and like we're gonna let Matt Weiss call the plays. Don Brown was there, and then 2019 that ends. Josh Gattis comes in, so we have Gattis and Don Brown for 2 years, and then we have Gattis and Mike McDonald, and now we got to replace them both. And from what I have read, again, this is from the same people, the same site that said Jim Harbaugh was accepting the Minnesota job. So take that for what you will. But it seems like all the smoke is Sherrone Moore, the offensive line coach, who's a phenomenal guy. I love Sherrone Moore, all about Sherrone Moore, and Matt Weiss are going to be co-OCs. Bellamy is going to move to wide receivers coach, which I love because that's what he played. He knows that better than safeties, I'm guessing. Clean scale is automatically the code DC because it was written into his contract. If they have a top 25 passing defense, he gets to be code DC. So whoever they hire probably has to be code DC with him. And I guess they've interviewed Jesse Minter for the defensive coordinator position as well. This guy, he coached for the Ravens most recently in the NFL, so another Ravens product. And then he is currently the defensive coordinator for the Vanderbilt Commodores. Now, obviously, their program's a dumpster fire, but he did get DC.
Terrible program.
Right. But when you got to make your chops, you get hired at a crappier school in the SEC, so he's trying to get better there. Another little bio blast that goes to the Mike Hart point that you made, Alex. I did not know this. Hand up to me for not being a cultured Michigan fan, but again, I try to block out the bad, harness the good, as they say from Happy Gilmore. Mike Hart said some really mean things about Jim Harbaugh in like 2007, like disgustingly mean things. So it makes me, now there's smoke that Hart might leave because of NFL interest. I wouldn't be surprised if he did because he might just be not using Michigan as a stepping stone, but obviously his career's progressing to like bigger and better things because he did a great job in the running back room this year. Every running back that touched the field for Michigan produced in a good way. And they like barely fumbled. So I think he's doing the right drills there. So in 2007, just a quick bio blast. You'll love it. I know it's kind of boring, but it's juicy. So Harbaugh was at Stanford and was saying how like, I don't know why he was chopping his own alma mater, Michigan, saying that like Michigan, they like tell you not to do hard majors at Michigan. So you can, when you're a football player, so you can, be a better football player. Like, duh, why wouldn't you? Like he said he wanted to be a history major and they said, Jim, don't do that. It's too much reading. And this is what Mike Hart said as a player back then. He said about Jim Harbaugh, quote, "That's a guy I have no respect for. You graduate from the University of Michigan and you're going to talk about your school like that, a great university like we have. To say that we're not true student athletes, I don't know if maybe he wants to coach here and he's mad because he didn't get a job. He says we don't have great student athletes, but he just accepted one of our transfers. What kind of sense does that make? Obviously, he wants guys like us at his school. I don't know how he can say that. He's not a Michigan man. I wish he'd never played here. That's crazy. So they must have settled that beef when he hired him, or they just like never talked about it. But I read that. I was like, oh, maybe Mike Hart is not at Michigan until last. Maybe he's just like, let's keep moving on up. Which again, his prerogative. My very last thing before we move on from the whole Michigan saga, which is basically like another episode of Kim Kardashian real world stuff, is outside OC candidates. I know you guys love this. You love the crazy names. Does anyone have any guesses as to who Grant would want as the offensive coordinator at Michigan that's not from within the program?
Bill O'Brien.
Tom Brady.
Charlie Weiss.
Not Bill O'Brien. What'd you say, Alex?
Tom Brady.
Not
Dave
realistic.
Warner needs a job still.
Reggie Bush. Joe Brady.
He just
Sean
got hired.
Payton.
Dan Orlowski.
Sean Payton.
Bill Belichick.
Michigan is a top program. They can literally get whoever they wanted. You know that?
Matt Patricia.
They
Dan
could
Campbell.
steal Chip Kelly away from a head coach for UCLA if they wanted to. Mark Helfrich is open.
Kyle Shanahan, probably.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Are you guys ready?
I don't really care.
I
Khalid Hill
would
just got hired
be
at Cass Tech.
a fan of hiring the Chicago Bears offensive analyst,
Matt Nagy.
Matt Nagy.
Tom Herman.
Oh.
Ew.
Yeah, let's get crazy.
He's still getting paid by Texas. He doesn't need to go do a real job.
Won a national championship for Ohio State. Bring him to the maize and blue.
I don't think he wants to.
You guys would have pet monkeys running around everywhere. That'd be sick, bro.
Oh yeah, there was that. Yeah.
Tom Herman gets paid for 3 more years by Texas. That's why he's doing an analyst job, so he doesn't have to do shit.
Another guy my next candidate is a guy who was recently had a tumultuous year and was let go of his job as a head coach in college football, but has had good success in the past.
Are you just gonna name it?
He lets his wife kiss the players.
Ew. The
Nick
Florida
Saban?
guy.
Dan Mullen.
Dan Mullen.
Oh, yeah.
Mullins.
Well, hey,
is
he
their
won't
mess.
recruit for you, so I guess that's not big of a deal. Josh Gattis
No
didn't recruit
recruiting
for you.
from Dan Mullen.
Hey, I guess Gattis wasn't in it either.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter.
And my last one, a guy who's bounced on a lot. He's in the MAC right now.
I think Dan Mullen would be a surefire, like, out of bounds, like, just runaway, fantastic hire. If you could pull it off.
I don't think he needs to
you think
coach
so?
either. Florida's paying him still for a while.
Yeah, because he's probably about to be ESPN. He was all over ESPN as soon as he got fired. His play calling is like top notch when he has like talent on this thing, but I just don't think he's like.
But he doesn't recruit talent.
Correct.
So
My last one is he's bounced around a lot. I believe he's currently the head coach of Akron football.
ew.
Terry Bowden.
Joe Moorhead.
Oh yeah, he just
The
got
former
hired.
LSU OC.
No.
former
Oregon
Oregon,
OC.
former Penn State, former
Penn State,
head coach
Mississippi
of
State, Oregon. Mississippi State head coach, Oregon
Stony Brook
offensive.
Head coach. Wait, right? Is it Stony
We
Brook?
play Akron. We play the
Fordham.
Zips next year.
Yeah, but he was a head coach
Wait.
for some small school way back when. Is it Stony Brook?
It says he just started being a head coach. Oh, Fordham.
Fordham. Darn, I was not close.
Yeah. Those three, if we had to go outside, would be like my realistic, like, okay, this guy wants another shot at being OC somewhere reasonable. Would
He
be
just
it,
took
but
a head coaching job, though.
But it's
Yeah, well,
Akron.
we hired Klingscale. Like, I know he was not head coach. He was a
You need
he was
Jeff Thorne.
hired him late. College football, you hire people late all the time. If you
Get
can
Peyton
lure them.
Thorne's dad from Western.
I would love that play. That would be great.
That'd be drama central.
The drama. All right. Well, enough of the Michigan saga until they do something else. Someone else leaves the program late in the night. Let's move to college basketball. And I'm just going to say it. Neither of our teams are Elite 8 caliber. I'm just going to get that off my chest
Super
now in February.
dramatic. Super dramatic the first week of February. But
It might be, but I'm just going to get that
I'm
out there.
ignoring you.
Oh,
Your team, definitely not. Your team is horrendous. But
Well, then
Michigan
tell
State
me on... Yeah,
is
tell
a
me
much
why.
better team than Michigan.
It's not about that. I'm just saying in the national landscape, national unbiased reporter, neither of these teams are elite caliber.
Michigan State can show elite level basketball. They just are super inconsistent, and then they have a month to figure out how to be more consistent. That's all it takes, you know.
All about the draw, and Elite Eight.
If you match up with teams,
top 8. Yeah, Ken Pong.
George Mason made a Final Four, Grant. George Mason went to the Final Four.
It could happen, but I'm talking like realistically. When you look at these teams, I just don't see it.
I don't know why Michigan's even in this conversation, but we know Michigan's not an Elite Eight team.
Our podcast covers both states, and I guess if they make the tournament, it's all about the draw. But like neither of these teams has a chance.
Have fun in the first 4, dude. I just know you're going to be there when you guys get in.
And that's not even making the tournament, so we're gonna have to win one to get in.
It is making the tournament technically.
So what's going wrong? This is where reasonable Evan hops in. What is going wrong?
Reasonable? Let's see.
Or Doomsday Evan.
Rebounding.
No.
I don't need excuse Alex. He'll just go, this is a theory about the... He can did you tell Evan about your theory?
It's not a theory. It's not a theory. Well, Michigan State, the last week of January and the first week of February is like 500 in the last 12 years under Izzo. And then after the first week of February, have like a 900 win percentage. Because Izzo goes full tournament mode in week 2 of February. Historically speaking. And it's a real thing.
And it's called?
The Izzo Bermuda Triangle.
It's just so funny to say.
If you go back and look at it, you'd be surprised.
I'm just simply not going to go back and look at it because this is a different team and it's just a different year totally.
Yeah, it is different every year.
There's multiple factors keying in the inconsistency play of multiple players on the team that have to contribute for the collective of the team to do well. They're a complete team. You don't have a superstar, so you can't blame it on somebody. You don't have somebody that can go and get you a bucket 100% for sure. So when 3 or 4 people have a down night, it's going to hurt your team collectively, and then you try to go to options and matchups and it just doesn't work out. Then you're backtracking and you're trying to catch up.
Do you guys miss Aaron Henry? Is that what I'm hearing?
I do not.
Yeah, dude.
I don't.
Yep.
I don't.
Why?
Because he's soft, and the way he left the season and how he ended the season is I will never forget his just lack of effort.
Because he didn't box out in the last play to seal the victory.
He lost just the game against UCLA.
Oh,
you wouldn't even have been there. You sound like an absolute nerd keyboard warrior.
What do you do
on the effort that he gave?
That?
You wouldn't have been in the tournament without him.
Correct. We would have.
You just said we weren't in the tournament in the first 4. So.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, well, I did say that, but I'm going to give you that one. But he wouldn't have been there without him.
True.
He would carry you guys through games.
COVID year, who cares?
Everyone played basketball. It's not a COVID year. There's no excuses. The Rutgers is just a different thing. We didn't play defense, and then I don't think we got any production of our post players when I thought we had positive matchups in that position.
We didn't feed the post enough, in my opinion.
I feel like we did. We tried. We didn't capitalize in the start of the second half. But there's a bunch of stats going on right now for rebounding.
It's all about cutouts.
And then
long misses.
Other teams are averaging. What was it? Other teams are averaging 6 more shots than us a game. Obviously, they're probably not going to make all 6 shots, but they're likely if they do. So there's 12 points. If a team's averaging 45-50% from the field, okay, there's 6 points potentially. So it can swing a game. We lost 2 games at the free throw line.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough because now we're going to actually face some big boys the rest of the year. We're not playing the weak kids of the Big Ten.
And it was scary to me how the win was a sweat. It was
up 15 and just took your foot off the gas.
You get up to a good lead, and Maryland did what they did last year to us. They did dribble drive penetration, one-on-one isolation situations where you get the matchup, and that's what they just did. And it's the same 2 players that did it last year.
They hit shots. You have to give credit to that as well.
The good news is that Wisconsin is kind of viewed as a big boy, but they're kind of frauds and they're being exposed as such. So that will be a nice bounce back win, I believe.
At home,
don't think Wisconsin's a fraud. I don't know why they continues to say that.
They're not.
That's like Evan saying Illinois is a fraud. They're not either. Both those teams are pretty good.
Illinois is not a fraud. Evan has a vendetta against them for the mean comments they made about Matty Sissoko. Wisconsin is a fraud
They can
because
say
they're
whatever
simply...
they want about Matty Sissoko now because he is not translating and his game is never going to develop.
Now watch your mouth. Now we're going to have beat. That's my guy.
Illinois is still very overrated. Congrats, you won at Assembly Hall. Michigan also did win at Assembly Hall. It's not that very good of stats.
That's how you know they're bad.
They have one dude, and I think Indiana is like one of the worst teams in the Big Ten at 3-point field goal percentage. So,
Wisconsin's offense is just so bad. Back to that, you guys will be fine. It's going to be a bounce back. You're going to do the
Tyler
same thing
Wall's
you did.
Playing this time, he did not play against us in the first game.
It's going to be a win, a double-digit win probably, because off of a terrible loss to Rutgers, it's the same spot. Is like you played them last time.
It's the Bermuda Triangle. So this is game 3 of the Triangle, and yes, we will win because people will think that we probably won't.
All right. I'm looking at KenPom, and you guys can like it or hate it if it fits your narrative. Same with PFF. I like to do that, but like this KenPom guy's pretty smart. We got a good sample size. If you saw the two teams that Michigan State is sitting in between on KenPom, I think you'd throw up.
If one of them's Davidson, it's rightly deserved because Davidson's a wagon.
Michigan State is 22nd in the country in KenPom. And
is that offense and defense combined average?
Yeah, it's like your total efficiency metric. Yeah. And so Davidson's 58. So far
they don't play defense, but they do light up the scoreboard offensively. So you know what? Rightfully so.
And then, so your offense and defense is 30th offense, 47th defense. So offense has actually surpassed the defense in terms of efficiency over the course of the season, which makes sense when you watch it.
Quite a bit.
The defense hasn't been what it was in the early season tournaments and whatnot. So there's a Big Ten team in front of you and a Big East team right behind you. And they are alarming. I'm not saying this is accurate or like how I would think it would happen on a neutral court, but it is kind of crazy.
Big East team is probably
Providence
or Marquette.
Marquette.
Okay.
Nailed it.
Big Ten team in front of us.
Indiana.
Somebody that's average.
Someone below you in the rankings.
Rutgers.
No.
Hoosiers.
No.
Worse?
Evan's least favorite coach in the conference.
Oh, Iowa.
Is ahead of, yeah.
Yep.
Because they have the 10th ranked offense and the 90th worst defense.
Yeah, they don't play defense.
So there's still, obviously, like you said, these numbers can fluctuate, but I would just say to get back to what it's going to take is just that like suffocating defense they had in the beginning of the season. I don't know where it's at.
I'm not going to do the panic thing in the first week of February. I'm not going to do it.
No one's asking you
I'm not panicking. No, and I think
I've
seen this rodeo so many times where it's first week of February and everyone writes us off. It happens all the time. The team that didn't get to play in March Madness, that team in the beginning of February, everyone thought they were like fraudulent. They sucked. They were coming off a Final Four, and now they look terrible. And then they like won 6 straight ranked games, and then they were going to be a tournament favorite.
But it's Cassius Winston walking through that door.
I'm not saying that this team is going to be a tournament favorite, but I'm also saying like this team isn't bad. This is a good team that has a chance to be much better. They just have to fix some things that they're struggling to fix. And if they don't fix them, then they'll be an above average team and they can still get to the second weekend and it's not a failure.
So we agree, Alex. You said it. They're good. They're not elite. Bang.
Not yet.
Texas win today?
Not yet.
It's just like when we're inconsistent, it's like the compound mistakes that are gonna hurt this team even more. That we're not like, how do I want to say this without being like when we make mistakes, it's gonna be harder for this team to come back from because of the overall, I would say, talent across the board. You don't have a couple of superstars that you can rely on. This is a team that needs to function collectively, all 5 to do well. And if 2 or 3 people are on the court or messing up continuously, it's going to hurt. You know, we had problems defensively, turnovers. Tyson Walker got his 3rd stupid foul early in the second half, maybe in the first. He had to go back in because of foul trouble in situations. And then, I said the post player, so I'm not too worried about it. It's just concerning of the inconsistent play against.
We're playing down to competition and playing up at the same time. We never can just like blow out the bad teams and struggle with the good teams. We have to just like always struggle with every team. and win by 4 points or lose by 4 points.
With all this being said, I think the next 3 games are wins. I just pull up the schedule, and I think then the gauntlet of the Big Ten gets real, and we find out how good this team is ready for a run in March.
I don't think tomorrow's a guarantee by any stretch, but
guarantee.
You seem confident in it.
Guarantee. Wow. I'll be stunned if they lose.
Wow.
Well, that's a narrative you're creating. So
it's a narrative I like to hear, though.
Yeah. No, that is some propaganda that I'm pushing. No, I'm not going to go there. Anyways, now the other team that's kind of a dumpster fire right now in the state, the 42nd ranked team in KenPom, Michigan. They are 20th in offense, 108th in defense. Yikes, mama. That is atrocious for a Big Ten team. That's worse than Iowa. We play worse defense than Iowa. Who would have thought? So now's the time for where I apologize and I put my hand up and I say I was wrong, because if you went back on this podcast in the beginning, I said I was not worried about Michigan's defense being a cause for concern. They'll figure it out. They didn't. They stink at it. And our friend and follower that we follow, Ant Wright. It's Ant Wright. Played basketball at Michigan, follows the team closely, did some deep dives on analytics today. Just going to share these to make my point. Michigan ranks 334th. Keep in mind, there's only 358 basketball teams. In pick and roll ball handler defense, 334th out of 358. Nice. They rank 345th, even worse, in ISO defense. Nice. So, second worst among high major programs, only worse than Xavier. Chop Xavier, they stink. But yeah, so their defense is atrocious. It can't get fixed, really. They're just going to have to win games with offensive barrages, and they tried to do that against Purdue, and they really did. They played good against Purdue. That was a nice game to play. It ended poorly. Alex can attest. Hunter Dickinson's back-to-back turnovers at the end made me rage quit. I spiked a Nerf basketball off a chair, and I made some really alarming comments about changing my fan allegiance. They were just jokes, okay? That wasn't serious.
Said he was going to be a Michigan State fan, so.
Oh, yeah. Welcome.
For all the Michigan fans, Grant said he was going to convert to a Michigan State fan because you lost to a top 7 team in the country.
Top 4. I said if...
Slightly dramatic.
I said if I got hired at Michigan State, if they hired me for a job in the athletic department arena, I would think about converting after what I just watched.
Not thinking. You said you would.
Yeah, I did.
Anyways.
I don't think I really meant it, but yeah, it was just frustrating. Like, it's one of those games you're not expecting to win, but you play that good, and if you win that game, that is the like high mark on your report card. You went to Purdue, you beat them with a full crowd at Mackey. Like, that would propel you to potentially be in the tournament when it's decision day. So that hurts to lose. But I'm looking, this is the gauntlet coming up of just game after game. They play 3 games this week, so just strap up, buckle up. Got to win at least 2 of the 3. You got Penn State, and then you got Purdue and Ohio State. So it's going to be a tall task, but you need to win 2 of those 3 to even have a chance going down the stretch. So I think they can get Purdue at home. Hopefully the Chrysler crowd can sack up here and get some noise going in Chrysler, and we can rattle some people. But they match up decently well with Purdue. They played them tough, so hopefully that's a win for them. But no need to spend any more time on that until we see what happens, because right now they're firmly out of the tournament, and they have to play their way into the tournament. And it's still a little bit too early here to know how it's going to shake out. Need to see this week. Need to go 2 for 3 and then move on from there. The Super Bowl, boys. The Super Bowl.
Yeah, baby.
As you can see, I'm going to do this new thing. I know we're mainly audio, but we do some clips, but I'm going to have a sport card next to me over my right shoulder for every show going forward. Depends on what the situation is. As we see here, we got a little Joe Shiesty, LSU.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful card. Don't tell the listeners, but I also have an Ohio State one. He didn't really play there though, so fraud. So yeah, Bengals guy, Joe Burrow. Evan hates to see it. I do not have a Stafford one. What are your guys' main overarching thoughts about this Super Bowl going into it?
Looking forward to seeing Joe Burrow play football. I love Jamar Chase, the LSU football connection. I love watching that.
Alex has a sweet gritty. I've seen him do it.
I don't think I've ever done it before.
Stand up, give the people what they want. Go ahead, do it.
I've never done it.
So do it.
Yeah, and yeah, honestly, I want Evan, you're not going to like this, but I'm looking forward to Stafford losing in the Super Bowl, and then all the Lions fans that are claiming the Super Bowl as their own can stop, because this is not the Detroit Lions going to the Super Bowl. This is the Los Angeles Rams going to the Super Bowl with a guy that used to play for the Lions. And I've gotten to the point where it's making me angry to see all these people like trying to claim it like it's theirs. It's not. Like, you can be a fan of Stafford. He's a good guy, good quarterback, fine. But this is not a Lions Super Bowl, and for that reason, I want the Bengals to win. And I'm sorry.
Your thoughts. My column, Alex Gill.
It's not attacking you, because I don't see you wearing a Detroit Rams t-shirt, but
I will not wear a Detroit
One's in the
Rams
mail.
t-shirt. What? No, there's not. My Stafford jersey will be in the mail on Monday when I order his jersey when he wins the Super Bowl on Sunday. That's a given.
because you're a fan of the player.
I'm a fan of the player. I'm not a fan of the whole notion that Detroit earns this because Stafford played here. No, you blew his chance with that talent, so you don't get to claim anything. I'm not that fan. I just want to see Stafford do well because he finally got out of Detroit and you're finally getting the recognition that he deserves.
He already got it, though.
Looking forward to the athletes on the field that finally get a chance to shine on the big stage that probably get overlooked by some of the QB drama going around the NFL. Obviously, Joe Burrow's highlight of the country. Everybody's fan favorite right now. But Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. T. Higgins had fantastic catches in the AFC Championship. He is bigger than advertised. He's probably
he looks like a tight end.
Yeah. And then offensive. Then for the Rams, you know how much people hate on Odell. He's still very talented, and you see what happens when you have like a competent quarterback throwing to him.
Grant's an Odell hater, by the way.
It's rightfully so. You had dead arm Eli Manning try to throw him passes, and you had Baker Mayfield trying to throw him passes. So just not good fits.
Yeah, he had some poopy quarterbacks.
Yeah. No, Baker is better than Patrick Mahomes.
That's funny. That is funny.
On the chest. I did. I just got that.
Oh, thanks, Alex.
Big ol'.
You know,
okay.
Back-to-back years, a home team gets a host. There's rumors out there. Mike Florio, I saw today, is out there throwing rumors that Sean McVay could retire after the Super Bowl.
What? He's like 30.
Take it with a grain of salt. You can fact check me, but I saw this rumor and that he could go into broadcasting after being just done with football after this.
Shut your mouth. You didn't see that.
I don't think it's real.
There's articles about it. I mean, Pro Football Talks, Mike Florio's floating the possibility.
See? He's 38. 36.
He's in his 30s.
So here's a fun storyline. If they lose this, is it like, McVay like can't win the big one?
No.
He just chokes?
0 for 2?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Drum that up. And
Bill
Shanahan
has lost more than 2 Super Bowls.
But he also won 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Facts.
But you got to lose one before you win one sometimes.
Not always.
You don't have to, but it can happen.
Like when you said that Big Ten teams don't win their first college football appearance and Michigan did.
Oh.
That felt good. Let's go back to that.
Feels bad. What else
Sorry,
am I
we derailed there.
Just the Super Bowl, it's weird because, we're saying the Bengals are in the Super Bowl instead of like the Chiefs or the Bills. But it is a good matchup. Hopefully there's going to be more points. Hopefully it's a better game than last year, but I think just the LA notion, it's in a new stadium. I'm looking forward to it, especially now that I have like a cheering interest in it with Stafford.
The Detroit Rams.
They fumbled the bag on the jersey matchup. We're a jersey podcast. I needed to see my Bungles in like orange jerseys or just black and black, but they went black and
their uniforms.
They went black and white pants. That looks so.
Well, the NFL has a bunch of like rules on their jerseys and all
right, well, it's the biggest game, so maybe tell them to buzz off. Like, okay, we're gonna wear cool stuff, and then the Rams are wearing white with yellow. Yeah. Why can't we just wear the blue pants? I don't know. Like, Alex is gonna hate that. He's not a Maze guy. I just don't get why we're wearing yellow pants in the Super Bowl. There's so many better combinations they could have done. I'm gonna choose to ignore that.
The Rams white suck anyways, so they should have been the home team.
Well,
their white jersey.
Yeah,
I don't like.
I like their white.
Bit fine with blue pants would look solid, or just all white. But they went yellow. It's like, it looks gross. It's gonna clap. I don't know. Who cares? Anyways, what I'm looking forward to is my dumb brain telling myself that the obvious storyline and the X's and O's isn't going to happen, but it for sure is, because the obvious storyline is that the Rams defensive front is going to bully the Bengals O-line, and it's going to be too much to handle. Like last year when people were like, oh, the Tampa Bay defense is going to cause problems for the Chiefs offensive line, and we watched it happen for 4 quarters. Like, this isn't Patrick Mahomes. Why isn't he doing good? That could easily happen to Joe Burrow and probably will, but I am such a believer in Joe Burrow, I'm just going to refuse to believe that. I'm just going to tell myself that he's going to figure out a way, even though Patrick Mahomes couldn't last year.
It's a good segue into what you're predicting for the game.
Well, I have one other point. 2 points. No, 1 point for the prediction. My last one is I just want Evan to address the irony of the situation that we're dealing with in the Super Bowl. That Joe Burrow is doing and accomplishing exactly what all optimistic Lions fans always wanted from Stafford those years. Pair him with an elite receiver and overcome the dumpster fire organization you're in. Any comments on that? That Joe Burrow is just simply doing that?
Cincinnati has had success before Joe Burrow got there. They had success with Andy Dalton. They did get to the playoffs more often. They did not win any of those playoff games because they had Andy Dalton as their quarterback. They did face some elite. Well, they faced Big Ben. They were kind of in a difficult division. The Browns did stink when beforehand when Andy Dalton entered. The Browns did stink, so you're kind of like 2 wins there. It's just a different situation. I feel like NFC, AFC, never got to host a playoff game.
It does make me, I'll say this, it makes me appreciate what Joe Burrow is doing more, because I know how hard it had to be to turn this organization around, and we all wanted that Stafford do this, and he simply could not. And obviously, if you would put a gun to my head and said, who are you picking to be your quarterback? I'm picking Joe Burrow, because I just love the guy. And so it's like, I do think he's more talented. They both have crazy talent, but it's very impressive what Burrow's doing. And I was thinking about the irony of this whole situation when they're matching up.
This organization, is a dumpster fire. They don't have a training facility. They went and trained at Cincinnati Bearcats football facility, their indoor, whatever. But Cincinnati has drafted way better than the Lions ever drafted with Stafford there. Yes, they picked a couple decent talents here and there, but your first round picks, when they're Nick Fairley and when they're Eric Ebron and those
Titus
guys, Young,
Ryan Broyles, Michaela Shore.
Wow.
They're guys that have to contribute in the first round, and we're going to talk about it in the offseason when the draft's approaching. Here and that, you have to hit on your first round picks. And when they're not transitioning, then you're pushing back your organization. Your quarterback and your best players can only do so much.
Watch your mouth, Alex.
Brandon Pettigrew, did we already say him?
No, that's fine, but you said Jeff Okudah. I said you watch your mouth.
Yeah, Jeff Okudah sucks.
So I feel like Stafford almost elevated them as far as they could get with the talent on the roster. The bad call in Dallas will never get over. It hurts.
It does. Alex, your prediction for the game, it's a 4.5 point spread, 48.5 over under. What do you got, man? What do you have for the people? We're not a betting podcast. Mitten Money does that, but we just
27-17 Rams. I think the Bengals are going to struggle mightily with the line. Their offensive line is tough. I'm not going to lie to the people. I'm going to tell the truth.
30-27 Bungles. Joe Burrow MVP.
The Bungles. Why I say that? Do you know why?
I don't know why you say the Bungles.
Bungholes.
Oh, I didn't know it was that simple. I thought there was an actual reason.
Yeah, we're making fun of the Bungles because Matt and Luke are Steelers fans, and they'd call them the Bungles, like the bungholes.
Well, how the tables have turned.
Yeah, so you've been insulting your team.
No, but I use it as a term of endearment. 30-27, Joe Burrow MVP, carried off on the shoulders. Legend. There's a new Joe Cool. Joe Shiesty, Joe Burr, whatever you want to call him.
Oh.
Evan.
You said just call him Joe.
I think the teams wearing white are 14-3 in the last 17 playoff games.
Oh, stop it, Evan.
Tom Brady.
I didn't believe it until last year happened, and the Chiefs were the runaway favorites, and Tampa Bay comes out in the whites and they win. There's something that has to be something weird. There's a weird mojo. NFL is a little rigged. We've seen it a little bit.
Wow, that's a big accusation.
Sound like Wyatt.
There's whole notions and games
integrity.
Fits, I had a similar score to Grant. I had 31-24 Rams. The Rams showed grit. They have some very talented players. I think they can keep it close. They came back against the Chiefs, so they can do it against anybody. The Rams wanted to lose against Tampa Bay in the second half, so they are a team to inept to give up leads.
It's a Stafford trait. Just kidding. Just a joke.
No, Stafford Trade is actually coming back in the fourth quarter and leading their team to victories.
I know, it was a joke.
Yeah, you better watch your mouth about John.
Get your Detroit
Stafford.
Rams t-shirt.
I'm actually looking forward to seeing the Rams MVP, how Jaquiski Tart plays in this game.
At least he tweeted out said it was on him. You're darn right it is on you.
Yeah.
And your quarterback was playing injured, which is dummy. So whose fault was it really? But I think the Rams will win. I hope they do win. And I think Aaron Donald, the way his emotions off after the NFC Championship game and his passion to wanting to win the Super Bowl, I think he's going to elevate his game. So I like the Rams.
Hang the LA Lions banner at Ford Field next year.
And no way an attempt to change any of your minds. Does anyone know what this year's Chinese New Year animal is?
It's a tiger.
Where Joe Burrow and Jamar Place play college football at.
Where Odell Beckham played college
Ohio
football
State. At. Joe Burrow was at Ohio State first.
Where
Jamar Chase was at Kansas actually first too.
Andrew Whitworth also played at LSU.
Oh. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Our last part, we actually have some life questions. I'm not going to call them life advice because that's ripping off.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about these. Let's get after it, boys.
I'm not sure what we'll end up titling this segment if it continues, but we'll just call them listener life questions for now.
Just call it life.
Life
with the boys.
Life with the boys.
Yeah, that seems right.
That
with
feels
a Z
nice.
at the end of boys.
No, do not put a Z at the end of boys, please.
And then put it on a Boys in the Hood album cover.
We'll put it on like a Life cereal box. Life with the boys.
And then our faces.
Or the board game. The board game. The first question is a nice simple one. Who can put up the most weight? Bench, curls, and squat. Not me.
First?
Not me.
Alex, I already got my predictions. You said you had your predictions, so just go ahead and
I'm gonna say squat is Evan.
Oh.
I'd be second in that.
Say I think I
Alex
can bench and curl
squat.
the most. I think I'd be last in squat.
100% agree. I think, I can squat the most. Bench and curls probably goes to Alex. Did improve my bench, but I assume you have improved your bench, so I'll give it to you.
I appreciate
Hang clean,
it.
you guys are.
I haven't hang clean since I was.
Oh
15.
my gosh, I did
Me
hang
either,
clean.
but
I got 205 recently.
okay, maybe not me then. That's good weight.
I was throwing weight
I think you
around.
could run the furthest, Grant. You could run the furthest.
Time
Long distance
mile.
running. That's Grant. I think Grant.
Could you
Yeah.
finish a mile under 8:45?
Yeah.
On lap 6, let's say you're in our alumni Tecumseh High School and you're on the indoor track. You have to go just over 10.
laps.
You just have to
10
go
and a half,
just
right?
over 10. It's like 10 and a quarter or whatever, 10 in like a curve. Could you get past lap 6?
Yeah.
Let's say you're on you just finished lap 6. You're on pace to beat 8:45 and you just give up.
Who would do that?
Jeez.
Why?
He just gave up, said he physically
can't run a
couldn't do it
mile?
anymore. He
He's
said he physically
20.
couldn't do it.
He's 20 years old, dude.
Yep. Over break, it happened to him.
It's outrageous.
Couldn't finish a mile.
Absurd. That is absurd. Yeah, I'm not going to put myself up there for any weight, considering I threw out my back this week. So I'm in recovery. I'm in recovery mode. All right, next one. These next two deal with females, something that we all know a lot about.
I know very little about.
Experts. So this one, my buddy recently jumped into a relationship really fast, and we are nervous it's all going down too quickly. Do we approach him and say what we think, or let it ride? Thanks, guys. I'll hang up and listen. Basically what they said.
He said they love the show. I don't know.
I don't think you
say that.
I don't think you say anything. I really don't. I think you just shut your mouth.
I think it depends on one thing. Is there like massive red flags, like the chick is dating him for his money? Is like he like rich? Like there could be some like glaring red flags. Is she a hooker?
Oh,
I mean, there's some things like that could be like a big problem.
Okay.
But unless there's like no massively glaring red flags, I would probably say just, if he's happy, you should be happy, man.
I 100% echo Alex's last point. If they're happy, the relationship is healthy and happy, and he's doing well, maybe even better than he was single, I think you just let it ride, and just go along for the ride and support him no matter what happens.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the line. Like if they were like, depending on how quick, obviously, if they're like, oh, we're moving in, I might say, I might make a comment like, wow, that's fast, but I wouldn't actively try to talk him out of doing that. Like I would let them move in if that's what they wanted to do. Yeah. Now with Alex's point, if I saw something that was like, hey, she's messing around behind your friend's back, or she's actively trying to use all his money, or she's a hooker, I would say something. I'd have a more serious conversation where like, hey, this is not what you need to be doing, and you have to be prepared for them to tell you to go F yourself because they're in a different mind frame.
You also risk like causing some serious tension in your friendship with the dude or whoever I guess it is. I don't know. Read the question.
And if it ends poorly, you never say I told you so. You just say I'm sorry, man. Like you don't.
Well, no, you can. You can say I was thinking it. Just I should.
All right. If she's a prostitute and you say, hey, she's a prostitute, and they say no. Then you can say I told you so if it ends poorly. If and only that. But pretty much just when in doubt, sit on the sidelines and just watch it unfold.
But observe in case you find any red flags.
A watchful eye. All right, last one here. Good ones this week for the first time. A girl, parentheses, an attractive one.
Oh.
Nice.
What are we talking on the scale 1 to 10?
7.5 and up.
Oh.
Gotta be.
Oh.
Comes up to you in a bar and says, let's take shots. Oh boy. Do you think she's doing it for free shots or because of genuine interest? Asking for a friend, ... which means you're asking for yourself, ... She just wants the free shots. That's what my gut said when this happened.
I think, it depends on the type of bar you're at. If you're at a Rick's in East Lansing and it's probably an 18-year-old, it's probably not genuine interest. But if you're, older at an older bar, like more sit down style, and someone does that, then I think maybe it's more realistic.
I think this is case by case situations.
Definitely changes.
Yeah. In my case, this would never happen to me. They would be definitely using me for shots. Because it's never happened in the 4.5 years, 5 years that I've been able to get this to going on.
It is an aggressive move to just go.
It's never happened
randomly.
Well, I've also seen other people happen to them. So, but like if you're the guy and you're like a handsome guy, you feel confident in yourself, and they came up to you, I think there might be a little bit of interest in there. If you look like me, your height's like me, you're down like below the sea level. They're definitely using you. They're definitely using you just straight for the drinks. You're still going to do them because it's the first time you've ever talked to an attractive girl. So you're definitely going to do them. You're going to have fun. And then afterwards, you can talk about, that was cool. So I would do them no matter what. But, case by case situation.
Well, I was going to ask, does this happen? Haven't you answered? But does this happen to you, Alex? This is like never happened to me. Like girls don't just, I don't think, just come like, let's get shots.
Not in a manner like that, no. Usually, if there is shots being bought, there's like conversation first. It's not just walk up to someone, hey, let's.
And I think that's what this person meant. I don't think it was an immediate, hey,
I think
I'm attractive, let's get shots. Like, I don't think that's how it happened. I think they were talking, and she's like, you want to get shots.
I think then that has more potential for genuine interest, yeah.
If you're talking. That actually, I think that happened to me once when I was in New York, but I was very drunk, and this is something I'm bad at. And I don't know if there's a strategy to this. I typically never am like, hey, let's go get shots. When like in my single days talking to a girl, it just never comes to my mind. Maybe I'll like, if I have to go get a drink, I'll be like, hey, do you want a drink or something? But I've never been like immediately, hey, let's go get shots like right away. I don't know.
I witnessed it this weekend. It wasn't me. No one was buying me shots. I did get to take one because I was in the group. But I did. Did you write in this question, Alex? No, I should though. I think this question was in well before.
In your experience in that exchange, was there genuine interest, or was it just kind of, hey?
Well,
I'm a girl and I want
funny
free shots.
story. What happened was, girl took shot and yacked it on the floor,
Oh,
right in front of us, and then like she turned around, puked, looks back at us, and like starts talking, and we're just like, did she just puke on the floor?
She just do that thing.
I look over, and there's just like chunks.
Ooh.
It wasn't like a nice
Ooh.
puke. It was like a
That's so
nasty
gross,
little
dude.
chunky puke. And then they went their separate ways.
A chunky puke.
Was it tequila shots?
It was.
You guys are crazy, bro. That's why. I don't blame her for throwing it up, actually.
Tequila shots are crazy, Evan. Come on, what are we
Come
talking
on,
about
Evan.
here?
They're the best.
No,
Um,
they're not.
If you ever want a like a
There
very
was no
low key
lime or
shot,
salt though.
oh that's bad. A low key shot would just be a green tea shot. I've actually gotten one of those before. They're fantastic.
Green tea,
You can
lemon.
taste it out, you know.
Lemon drop.
When we went,
orange
we went to
bomb.
Ann Arbor, Evan, I was buying us 3 a round of shots, and
Yeah.
you told me I had
Oh,
to
yeah.
get something super easy. I asked
was
the
that
dude
called?
for something super easy, and it was like blue. I can't remember what it was called.
It was a cool name. It was unique though. I think it was unique to that bar.
No,
Was
I
this-
looked it up, and it was a real thing. Comic, no. Yeah, maybe
Well,
it is. Was
I
it a
think-
blue kamikaze shot?
No, that doesn't sound right.
That feels right. It looks the same.
It could be. I guess our takeaway is if it's an immediate come up to you and get shots, she's probably using you. But if it's genuine talking for a little bit, flirting, you feel you know what's happening. She goes, like, want to get shots? Probably interest.
I think no matter
either
what,
way-
the biggest point, you do it.
And here's the thing, yeah, you
see
don't
what
think
happens.
you don't think about the meaning. You just have a great time. Like, yeah, let's get shots. We're out at a bar. Let's get drunk, and then you go from there.
And
You
then
figure out what
maybe
happens.
something good will come of it.
Yeah, and then maybe you'll be a father in 9 months. And that would
It'd
depend on your life situation. That'd be good or bad.
be awesome. Little junior running
The
around.
Trojan
You know what?
sponsorship. You should wear those.
We're gonna go right to Trojan. We gotta stop at the lower levels first. I feel like
Absence
what
is
are
the
the-
safest.
Durex.
I was at a restaurant on Sunday, and it's the first time in a long time I saw
Put on a condom.
They were selling condoms in the bathroom for 75 cents.
That's a bargain. You should have bought at least a couple of them.
Oh, I'm sure they work great.
Good value.
I'll probably have a couple holes in them.
All right. Well, that is our show. I do want to say one note. We had a ton of questions. Great work, everyone. If your question was not answered, do not worry. We did not ignore it. We will get to it in a future show. Like, we had a lot of Lions draft talk and Lions offseason. Like, we're not there yet. We will get there, and we'll make sure to use those questions to facilitate that conversation. So no worries. Our social accounts at Shot of MS everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever we're at Shot of MS. How to listen to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. It's 11:30 p.m. Just turn that on a Monday. All we ask, this show's for free. All we ask, the grind, whatever. You love it, you hate it. All we ask is if you respect the show, just a 5-star rating, a review, a YouTube subscription, a review there, whatever, a comment. Anything helps. Any little thing helps to bump up that algorithm. Share the link with a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to go. And again, continue to submit those questions via the forum we put out every week. And with all that being said, cheers to episode 58 and to seeing what the Pistons pull off at the trade deadline and me squishing this can. And then we'll be talking about whatever the Pistons do or don't do on next show.
Cheers to Matthew Stafford winning a first Super Bowl.
Oh, wow. That was an obvious one. Good call.
Cheers to the LA Lions' first Super Bowl banner.